peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back, for it's root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Take me out.
This is a great day for us because we're opening a very special exhibit, Play Ball, Presidents in Baseball, to on the eve of the or the opening week of the season, to give you a little history about a interesting celebrity part of baseball, and that is the interest of presidents from the time they were in high school and college, and how it continued, particularly with Richard Nixon. He was a great baseball fan, as you'll see in the exhibit, and you'll hear from one of our speakers today. And I think there's a great quote that I think is really good. It's sort of inspirational too, and he says, this is what Richard Nixon said once, I never leave a game before the last pitch, because in baseball, like life and like politics, you never know what's going to happen. And I think that's kind of an interesting comment, not only on the game, but of course life. He loved the game. In fact, in 1992, we had a reprise of something he did at the White House when he was president with his son-in-law, David Eisenhower, grandson of President Eisenhower and a great baseball fan himself. They came here to announce their all-time baseball greats, the best of both leagues in baseball. And we had a lineup of baseball legends who came. We had the SC Marching Band, we had the organist from the Dodgers, we had so many people, we built a big tent outside, and some of you may have been here, but it was a terrific event, and he got up and talked about his love of baseball. And I was standing around trying to look important, and I noticed during the lunch a whole bunch of people coming over and asking for his autograph, and so I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I went over and kind of cleared them away and dispatched them back to their tables. And he motions to me a couple of minutes later, and he says, what happened to all the people? And I said, well, I didn't think you wanted to. He says, no, I want to sign everything. They've got baseballs. Let them come over. So that started it. I go from table to table and say, if you'd like to walk over there, you'd be glad to autograph something. I wish I had done it. I wish I had a bunch of baseballs that day, because they'd all be very valuable pieces. Please join me in thanking the Sugar Daddies from Fullerton. So it's great. You're terrific. Thank you for coming. You'll hear from them in a minute. We're here to open this great exhibit, which was put together really by the National Archives. We were supporters and cheerleaders, but they did the work, and they curated it. And you'll hear from somebody from NARA in just a moment. But I think you're gonna love seeing what's there. There's over 200 artifacts. There's documents, there's mitts, there's balls, there's bats, there's jerseys, there's a little bit of everything from baseball. And the interesting thing about it is that it's great. It's a great presentation of baseball history, which those of you who are true baseball fans know that baseball started in Europe about 1840 and grew into America's greatest pastime. I want you to meet some VIPs. First are some Little Leaguers. Bring out those Little Leaguers, if you would. Cue the Little Leaguers. Yeah, little energy. Put a little energy into it, huh? Okay. All right. Oh, you brought the ribbon. The ribbon, that's what we're going to cut in a few minutes. So kids, just hold on to it, would you? I want you to meet our great friend of many years, the mayor of Yorba Linda, Craig Young. Craig, please stand. I want you to meet the curator of the Dodgers, who has been very, very helpful to us, Robert Schwepp. Robert was assistant to Peter O'Malley for years. He was a senior officer in the front office. Peter O'Malley was president, of course, of the Dodgers from 1970 to 1998. And thanks to Robert, they have loaned us a number of items here, I think 25 items or so, and you're going to see those in a few minutes. Robert, thank you so much for all that you've done to help Olivia and our crew to do that. Randy Kaplan from New York. Where's Randy? Randy Kaplan. Randy gets the award for coming the furthest. I think you did come all the way from New York to be here today, right? And he's a great collector and wanted to participate in this exhibit. He brought signed bats by presidents and first ladies, and we appreciate everything you've contributed to it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. Robert Burge is from our community. He's too is a collector, and he loaned us trading cards and mitts and programs and paintings, including some from the great Hall of Famer artist Dick Perez, and he has been very helpful to us. Robert, thank you for that. The person who really led putting this all together with her crew of curators led by Olivia is the new deputy director of the Richard Nixon Presidential Library. I'm on the foundation side, and the person you're about to meet is on the federal side and is deputy director for the National Archives of the Richard Nixon Presidential Library. Please welcome Ida Kelley.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks for coming out for our newest exhibit. First, also our sincere thanks to the foundation and Sandy. As you could see here, we couldn't do this without their assistance and their support, particularly for the wonderful ties they have to the community locally and across the land as well. So many folks, and seated here with us today, donated, or rather lent us, not donated, I don't want to scare you, sorry, lent us many of the lovely artifacts that we have on show for the coming months. With that, I also want to thank, as Sandy mentioned, we have on our team our own curator, Olivia Anastasiadis, and her staff has been working feverishly for the past many months to put this together. Thank you. And just so you know, we do this ourselves, the painting, the exhibits, the mounting, so it's kind of an interesting behind-the-scenes look if anyone's interested in how these things come together. As you heard, we're part of the National Archives. Some of you might be familiar with that. It's the organization, the federal organization that protects our greatest treasures, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, Bill of Rights. Well, the Presidential Library system is part of the National Archives, and there's 13 of them. Nixon is Presidential Library for President Nixon is one of them. Soon we'll have another one after Obama finishes his term. But wanted to share that if it wasn't for these institutions, we don't have these artifacts to show you today. We have, the vast majority of artifacts came from presidential libraries, and are all 13 represented? Almost. Yes. So look for them. Look for the past 13 presidents. Test your civics history. As we know, presidents have had long love for the game of baseball, and it's quintessentially our pastime, our game. And with all the youth today, you can see we're continuing the tradition. It's still very much a part of our tradition every day. So for, again, another thanks for the Little Leaguers. And in our president's honor and in our Little Leaguers' honor, we bring you the story of presidents in baseball. Play ball. So thank you.
Thank you. And I want to thank Olivia, too, because I've worked with her for 20 years. I still can't pronounce her last name, but I'll try. She really put this together in her crew. Olivia Anastasiadidis, right? I'm close. Please give her a little hand to thank her for helping. Now, a good friend of mine for something like 45 years is here. He was Marine military aide to President Nixon. When President Nixon left the White House and came to Orange County, he became his chief of staff. And one of Jack Brennan's highlights on his resume is that he went to many, many games with President Nixon, accompanied him, sat with him, went to the locker room afterwards to talk to the players, talked baseball with him an awful lot. So I asked Jack if he would come here today and give us a few anecdotes. He spent many years with President Nixon. I don't know of anybody who knew him better. So please welcome Colonel Jack Brennan.
Thank you. These poor guys have to stand here? Okay, stand at ease. I'm a Marine. I can give them orders like that. Yes, amongst the great memories of President Nixon is his love for sports. I'm a sports fan. I grew up admiring especially Ted Williams because I grew up in Massachusetts. As you may tell, when I talk a little more, you'll hear some words that will remind you of the Boston Red Sox. The first time that I went to a ball game with President Nixon is depicted in this photo to our right. And the staff picked this photo because it shows how very, very happy President Nixon seemed to be, and in fact was. This is the opening day of baseball exactly 45 years ago, almost to the day. This is when Washington had a team called the Washington Senators, who to everyone's chagrin, moved to San Diego and became some other team. Now, of course, they have a team again, the Washington Nationals. But here, the manager of this team, the Washington Senators, was Ted Williams, not shown in this picture. Some of those shown in the picture, excuse me, boys, this is the Commissioner of Baseball, Bowie Kuhn, and you can see how happy President Nixon is, and you can see how this kid didn't give a damn. So, can I see the game, please? Why you bother me? But the remarkable thing about this photo is one of God's great miracles. This Marine hasn't changed in 45 years. Hair doesn't count. Later in that year, the All-Star game was played in Washington, D.C. And President Nixon couldn't pass up that opportunity because at the All-Star game, the host city invites all Baseball Hall of Famers, everyone who is in the Hall of Fame, plus others. At that time, a guy named, the older ones will know, Vince Lombardi, a great football coach. The Lombardi Trophy is given to the Super Bowl winner. Vince Lombardi was the coach of the Washington Redskins, the local football team. So President Nixon could not pass this up. He said, we have to have a reception for all of these players and all these Hall of Famers. Well, I was delighted, of course, to be working that day. And in the East Room were every Hall of Famer, every living Hall of Famer, and he invited such people as Vince Lombardi. So I'm in uniform and working, and I'm supposed to be doing my duty and paying attention to the president, but out of the corner of my eye, I saw Vince Lombardi talking to Ted Williams. And I said, ooh, should I do this? You're going to get fired. It's worth it. And I went and got an autograph from both of them on the same card. That's for sale, Sandy, by the way, if you want to. Anyway, many, many great memories. And he was always happy you could forget the Cold War, forget the problems of the world, and talk about football and talk about baseball and enjoy it. He went to more baseball games, almost as many as any other president in just his 5.5 years in office. Speaking of after 5.5 years, I accompanied him as a return to San Clemente and the transition to, quote, civilian life. And times were not so happy then. And to try to keep him busy and not, well, you can imagine how he felt. He afraid that someone was going to, if he went in public, what the reaction would be. I somehow got on the advisory board of the then California Angels, and now the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California. Anyway. And what the advisory board does is we advise and they ignore. That was my job. But I got to know Mr. Autry, who is the owner of the team, Gene Autry. And one day I said, would you invite former President Nixon to a game? And he was elate. Absolutely, I would love it. Would it be one of the great joys of my life? So I said, this may be a chance. I went back to President Nixon. I said, we should, and by then he was listening to the games at night, the Angels games, and became familiar with all of them. And usually our first conversation in the morning, the day's business began with, why in the world did he throw a curveball? Would that count? I can't, we'd just go through all of that stuff. So finally I said, well, I'm not sure about going to the game. He said, it'll be fine, let's go to the game. So we went to the game, went on Mr. Autry's private elevator. The elevator operator saw President, he says, wow, got an autograph. Went into the box, and Gene Autry had the owner, had a three-tiered box. At that time, Mr. Autry couldn't see. He had later had a cataract operation. And so he sat in the top row of this three-tiered box with a television. He watched the game on television. So President Nixon, of course, had to sit with his host. He sat in the top row, not me. I went down to the first row, sitting as close as I could to the action. A foul ball came, and I gave it one of these, caught it. And the crowd started cheering and cheering, and Mr. Autry said, what happened? And the guy, someone in the booth said, Jack caught a foul ball. He said, oh, wow. Well, President Nixon heard that. He came up, stood next to me, took the ball, autographed it, the crowd all cheered. So it made him feel a lot better. Later, Nolan Ryan came up to the booth, who was the best pitcher the Angels ever had, I think. And he came up to the booth to say hello to President Nixon. I asked him to sign the ball. President Nixon had already signed it, and then I got Mr. Autry to sign it, and that, too, is for sale. So, that's in my I Love Me room, though. That's pretty far away and back east. In any event, these continue. We went to a number of games post-presidency. As I said, watched all the games. And in 1979, the first time the Angels ever made it to the playoffs. And lo and behold, I was invited to travel with the team back to Baltimore to see the game. But I was afraid to ask for time off. If someone else told President Nixon that I was invited, and he said, absolutely, I wish it were me, you go. So it was a great time for me. I'll tell you one little story on this. Don't tell your grandchildren this. On the Angels lost both games in Baltimore. The second game on a double in the last of the ninth to Baltimore. It was a very, very dramatic game. We get on this chartered plane, and the manager of the Angels was Jim Fregosi, who recently died. And the announcers were, the color man was Don Drysdale, and the announcer was? And Dick Enberg, absolutely right, Dick Enberg. In any event, I was sitting behind Drysdale in the first class section. And one of the players came up, a guy named Jim Barr, I remember well, and Barr punched a locker near the end of the season and could not pitch in a World Series. And when we got on the plane, everyone, Drysdale said, and Fregosi both said, anyone have questions of me? Because I'm jumping in the scotch bottle. In any event, this player, who should have used the facilities where he was sitting, came up into first class. And Drysdale, as you know, was 6'6", huge guy. And he made a remark to this pitcher. And the pitcher turned to him, and Drysdale got up to attack him. And I put my hands on Drysdale's shoulders. I said, no, Donnie, don't. He picked me right on my seat. The guy was so big. Fortunately, Mr. Autry was awake, and he said, cut it all off. But there were some exciting times. And most important, though, it was great to see President Nixon at times like this, former President Nixon also, where he was so happy to be involved in sports and knew the game really well. Sandy talked about the all-star team he picked, and I can't remember the name of this guy. Everyone on the all-star team is someone that I agreed with him, except he picked a shortstop that I didn't know. And I said, God, Boudreaux was better than him, and we'd go on and on. Come to find out, the guy he picked was from Whittier. So a little bit of prejudice there. In any event, it was amongst the great things of my tenure with him was to be able to enjoy with him and to see how happy he was, especially with little leaguers. We had a whole bunch of them, not just this one guy. You think he's picked out of the crowd, but we had a whole bunch of little league guys, invited him to the game, and Now, that's 45 years ago. He is now a corporate executive, a multimillionaire, all because of Little League. I'm kidding you. Okay, thank you, Sandy. Thank you, guys.
You're out at the old ball game. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd by me. Some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back, for it's root root doo for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame, for it's 1, 2, 3 strikes. You're out at the old ball game. 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Wait. Oh! For it's 1, 2, 3, 4 balls you walk at the old ball game.
Hey, thank you, guys. That was great. Could you just perform every day here in the lobby? I think it would help attendance. Now, kids, I'm going to ask you to move to your left, if you would, so that we can see this case here. Okay? Do you have a black eye? Do you? Let me see it. Huh? Take an aspirin. Call me at 10 tomorrow. Do you feel all right?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Tim.
Will you tell us what happened?
I went to go bunt the ball, and the ball hit the top of the bat and went into my face.
Really? Listen, Mayor Young is an attorney, and I don't know. Give him your card for Pete's sakes. Yeah. Don't let him get away with that. Now, in this case, right here, is a very rare baseball. And if any of us could get it and sell it, we could tour the world. We could have a fleet of Mercedes, a yacht, a big house somewhere. But it's owned by, curated by, a member of our board of directors. And I want him to tell you about it. He owns and runs the Newport Sports Museum right here in Newport Beach. He's an SC guy, and he's a great sports enthusiast. And this ball has a little history to it, so I want him to tell you about it. Please welcome John Hamilton. Where is it? There.
Thank you, Sandy. How old are you? Perfect. When I was 12 years old, I was first interested in sports memorabilia, and I started collecting stuff when I was 12 years old. Fast forward to today, 60 years, and I'm still doing it. So think about it. You can have a lot of fun in being involved with sports memorabilia and especially things that were used by players. This ball is one that I started very early. Well, I shouldn't say very early. It depends on your context. Everything's early to me. But President Nixon signed this ball first for me, and at that time, thanks to Rosemary Woods, and I said to her, "Boy, this should be terrific. We should keep this going." So after he signed it, he was kind enough, as you all know, he was a very kind man. He sent it to Gerald Ford, and Gerald Ford signed it. Well, now I'm sitting there with 2 presidents on it. I figure, well, I really absolutely have to keep this going. So President Carter was the next to be contacted, and he was gracious enough in Georgia, and we mailed it to him, and he signed it. And then, of course, along came President Reagan, and we were lucky enough to get him to sign it. And we kind of kept it going. And now it has 7 presidents on it, from starting with Richard Nixon through George W. Bush. And hopefully sometime we'll have, what's his name? He'll be a memory then, I hope. Anyway, maybe this is nonpartisan, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm very excited about this ball because, but I've created a monster now because we have to keep it going and keep attempting to get other presidents to sign it. Sandy, if you don't mind, I have a baseball story I'd like to tell. It doesn't have anything to do with baseball or with the presidents. But a number of years ago, my wife, Kathy, and I were in the Soviet Union. It's when it was the Soviet Union. And we had a very nice guide who took us around Leningrad then, now St. Petersburg again. Anyway, and it was one of those situations where he was very, very kind to us. He would look around and see if anything was being bugged, and he would tell us things, and we got to go some places that theoretically he wasn't supposed to take us. So we did what everybody does when they're traveling and they're someplace. Say, hey, Igor, if you ever are in the United States, you got to come stay with us. You got to come visit with us. Well, guess what? He did. He got out, and he left his family there. He didn't sneak out. I mean, he got a visa. And he came here. So we did the natural thing that you would do. Kathy took him to Disneyland. He was a father with young children. He saw, I want to say Mad World, but Small World. It was a movie. I know. They're both crazy. But anyway, Kathy took him to the Small World thing, and he started to cry. So, because he was missing his kids. So we wanted to cheer him up, and we took him to the baseball game. We took him to the Angel game. Now a friend of mine had seats that were literally in the front row on the visitor's dugout. You could put your Coke on top of the dugout. And it was one of those great days that the Angels were playing. Now, for those of you who understand baseball as all you kids do, imagine trying to tell someone from a foreign country how baseball works. I mean, we could have sat through 4 games and you're never going to understand what a balk is and what's all this about. Yeah. But at the end of the game, he got to see America's pastime, and it was fun, and we left. And what made this memorable for me is, as we left, we got out in the parking lot. I said, well, what did you think? He said, well, that was really pretty neat. I know everybody liked that. And I said, well, what are you going to go back home and tell your family? He says, well, I'm going to tell them all these people come. They wear all kinds of crazy clothes. They scream and they yell and they cheer. Most of it I had no idea why. And they eat hot dogs and peanuts and some beer. And they throw all the trash on the ground and they leave. That was baseball to this guy. Ate everything, threw it all on the ground and went home. Probably be in Siberia if they did it, at home. Anyway, that's my story, and thank you, Sandy.
Thank you. Thank you, John. John's mother was a close friend and advisor to President Nixon. He named her the first woman to be co-chair of a national presidential campaign. His mother was Pat Hitt, who lived on Balboa Island, and President Nixon named her as Assistant Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare. So she spent a lifetime of great public service. Thank you, John, for sharing that with us. Now, no baseball game is complete without something to eat. And any baseball fan is addicted to peanuts. So this ceremony couldn't be complete without some peanuts, right? Is that right? Okay, so who do we have? We have Todd KOMORI, who for 33 years has been the peanut man at the Angel Stadium. Now, Todd, could I try something? If you'll go as far back there as you can. Now, there's two kids over here. The boy in the red there, the Little League. Okay, can you go as far back as you can? And let's see, Todd. Do you think you can get him? Can you see him? If you win this, if you can catch it, John's going to give you the baseball. No, he's not. I'm just kidding. Take that back. No. Did he get it? Good for you. Good for you. All right, let's do one more. The fellow to your, yeah, you. There, let's see if you can do it. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. Look what free stuff does. Gosh. Imagine if we had had hot dogs. Look. Looks like none of these kids are fed at home. Yeah. Look at them. Wow. All right. All right, now, you guys can line up in a straight line. All right. Thank you. Let's thank Todd. Thank Todd for great. Don't go away. They'll want the rest of those, Todd. All right, now we're going to do a ribbon cutting. Okay. Now, kids, everybody in the ribbon cutting, you got to listen to Uncle Sandy. Line up here, and you're the one with the scissors, right? Okay. Now I'm going to go down the line and ask each one of you to say your name and your age, okay, and what position you play, okay?
I'm Tim. I'm 12. I play catcher and first.
You play catcher and first, and you're 12. Okay, you got to smile. I know that thing. You just have to smile. Now, everybody smile. Big smiles. Come on.
My name is Evan. I'm 10 and I play first base.
Okay.
I'm Carson. I play shortstop and pitcher.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I said 10. Okay.
You want to take that back? No. Okay. And who do we have here? I feel like Art Linkletter.
I play in pitcher.
You're a pitcher? Wow. Oh, and a batter.
Yes.
Yeah, good. Okay.
I'm CJ. I'm 12. I play first and pitch.
CJ. What does that stand for?
Cole James.
What is it?
Cole James.
Well, that's a cool name. Cool name.
My name is Jake. I'm 7.5, and I play pitcher. And the Angels is my brother. He's my brother.
Why aren't you standing next to him? Huh?
My name is Wyatt. I'm 8, and I play second base.
Second base.
Hi, I'm Derek. I'm 11 and I play the outfield.
Oh, wow. Well, a very impressive group. And you're all from West Yorba Linda Little League. Okay. Now, CJ, you have the scissors. So these are all baseball. Marge Garvey did this for us. It looks very good. Thank you, Marge. And CJ, it's up to you to cut the ribbon. Don't anybody get hurt. Stand back from the scissors. Wow, good stuff. That's great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, play ball, Presidents in Baseball is now open. Please come forth and enjoy the exhibit. Thank you all for coming. I hope it was fun.
Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back for his root for the home team if they shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.